Paterson, the third largest city in New Jersey, is best known by its nickname Silk City, for its once dominant role in silk production during the latter half of the 19th century. The Garden State has backed the Democratic candidate in every presidential election since 1992. So it wasn't a surprise that Kamala Harris won the state. What was surprising is by how much, a nearly 6% margin, marking the first single digit margin of victory for a Democrat in New Jersey since 2004. What was also notable is that the reliably Democratic county of Passaic voted for Trump over Harris. The last time that happened was in 92 in support of George H.W. Bush. Support for Trump grew across diverse groups in the largest city in Passaic County. My hometown is a major destination for immigrants, including from Latin America, like my parents from Peru, 30 to 40,000 strong, that call Little Lima su hogar. President Trump has referred to himself as the president of law and order. I visited with two childhood friends to discuss the shared responsibility of public safety and the need for a strong partnership between law enforcement and the communities they serve. Fernando Barboto is the head coach of men's soccer at New Jersey Institute of Technology and the New Jersey United Athletic Club.
Growing up in Patterson there was a lot of crime. I know I got into a lot of fist fights. Yeah, I think, I think being a family man, a young daughter, it's really important. It's super important to me. Make sure the schools are safe, make sure the streets are safe, and, make sure that the criminals are where they're supposed to be, in jail. The less there are on the streets, the more there are in the jails, the less there are on the streets. So that's really important. Like I said, I have a big family. I know how dangerous the streets can be, especially for a young girl or even a boy, right? Getting into a needless fist fight or something.
Growing up in Paterson to me was a sense of community, a sense of neighbors. I made great friendships that I've had all my life. You're being one of them. You're one of my first friends starting in kindergarten. So growing up in Paterson was it had its socioeconomic problems, but there was a sense of community, and I think it's what kept me there and what still keeps me here.
Bernice Toledo is the former Passaic County Circuit Court judge and Deputy Attorney General dedicated mostly to child protection cases. I met up with her at the Silk exhibition in the Patterson Museum.
Public safety starts with private safety, right? Child protection is mitigating the traumas that happened at home so that a child is free to learn, so that a child doesn't turn to a life of crime or a life of despair.
Bernice believes public safety is not solely the domain of government agencies. It requires a proactive and collaborative approach from everyone in the community.
We can't rely only on law enforcement. We have to have community engagement programs. Sure, law enforcement is there maybe to set some parameters, maybe some direction, but public safety doesn't come from the top down. It's something that people have to become invested in, people have to believe in.
Retired Patterson Police Lieutenant Dalton Price is known for his strong community ties and involvement, including his work with the Bronze Shields of Passaic County in building trust between the police and the community. He's the author of The Guide to Community Policing.
Most police officers don't realize that probably 85% of what they do every day is community policing. You're not doing as much crime fighting as you think you are. Bringing down police work to meet people where they were. Talking to people, finding out what their issues were, what their concerns are as police officers, and trying to work through that and having different scenarios to work through.
Dalton says community policing is a philosophy and strategy focused on partnerships.
It's community and policing. How do we bring those two things together? But the community has to do their part also. Okay, do I think there's more onus on the police? Yes, because that's where I stand. But I think the community can do their part by reaching out their hand and extending it to the officer and getting things done. It's not about just the police doing things. It's going both ways. How can we make this relationship work? We have to bring people into our lives, the community and the police, and let them see that this can be done a different way.
The city of Patterson is in a legal battle with the state attorney general's office over who will control the city's police department. The AG took over the department after the 2023 fatal police shooting of Najee Seabrooks, an anti-violence advocate.
As it was said, and I think appropriately so, a crisis of confidence in that police department by members of the public. There crisis of confidence, I think, in the leadership at the time.
I spoke with the executive director of the Office of Policing Strategy and Innovation, Issa Abbasi, about the NextGen strategic plan for the Patterson Police Department.
NextGen Policing was created for the city of Patterson. Right? It's something that I felt was important to have a roadmap, a path forward for the city of Patterson, which had undergone some tumultuous times. And what was important was to identify in specific terms a path forward. How do we build bridges to the community? How do we maintain the morale of the members of the police department? How do we improve upon a police department that was in some ways operating behind best practice? How do we bring them to the current state of policing and beyond?
Launched in 2023, the plan is framed around four main goals: rebuild public trust and restore order in the community, evolution of community policing, innovation, technology, and strategic evaluation, recruitment, training, and employee well-being. Abbasi said bringing community stakeholders into the management of their police department is necessary in order to rebuild community trust and ensure the PPD addresses the community's concerns.
So we started with a vision, right? We started with a public-facing vision. And that vision was to redefine community policing. What does that mean in the city of Patterson, right? Improve technology. Focus on employee health, well-being, and professional development. And then introduce these concepts of precision policing and reducing crime and making it feel safe in the streets of Patterson. Well, when we put this vision out, the next step was to stakeholder. Go out into the communities, and I did listening sessions in every ward of Patterson before ever contemplating the 55 points of this strategic plan to hear what the customer is looking for. Because at the end of the day, modern day policing has to evolve to this customer solution, right? We are a service provider. We can no longer look at policing as this monopoly where you take what we're giving or not. So we had to understand what that customer wanted. But then importantly, part of that stakeholdering process as well was the officers themselves. Where do you see the police department now? Where do you think it went wrong? Where would you like to see it? How do we get there? That community voice was essential in crafting this strategic plan.
Patterson has a crime rate higher than the national average. However, there are also reports of a recent decrease in homicides and shootings, the lowest level in a decade. There are varying perspectives on what contributes to crime and safety in the city. Some emphasize the need for community-based solutions.
Okay, you're riding around. You riding around in your car in neighborhoods is a part of community policing. People see you. Let's take it a step further. You ride the same neighborhood every day. You see the people every morning. Wave to them. Say hi.
I think it's important for police officers to, have friendships, with the people in the community. Like you see, videos or on TV, you see, when you see a policeman playing basketball in the streets with the young kids. And I think that's critical, right? Because that builds trust. And if the community has trust in police officers, and the police officers have trust in the community, man, that's a great relationship there, right?
We have to get people involved. They have to feel like there's a stake in the game where they have the power and the agency to make a difference.
In Patterson, New Jersey, I'm Mungo Bhatt.